Hello and welcome to Beyond the Noise, the podcast series from PR Week. I'm John Harrington, the editor of PRWeek UK, and I'm joined today by my colleagues Danny Rogers, editor-in-chief, and Siobhan Holt, news editor. Hi to you both.
Morning.
Morning.
Hello. Hi. Well, that response might give you an indication of the sort of tone of this podcast, but perhaps last night was one of the biggest nights in the UK PR calendar, the PRWeek UK Awards, hence why we sound like this. More than 800 industry folk descended on the JW Marriott Grosvenor House in London to mingle with their peers, have a few drinks, and of course celebrate the best of UK comms. Huge congratulations, first of all, to all of the winners last night. Very well deserved. As usual, it was a late night for many, so excuse us if we're not our usual exuberant selves from the start. I've just had a lot of caffeine. I believe the rest of you are handling it in your own way. But with enough coffee, I'm sure we'll get through it. We're going to talk a bit later about some of the themes and so on, but I think we should just first of all talk about the night itself. How was it for you both?
Late.
Yeah, very late. But it was brilliant. Someone described it, actually. I thought it was a great way of saying it. They said it was like a school reunion. There was a real nice vibe in the room that everyone was really encouraging each other, and I thought it was nice.
Rink bar was very lively, wasn't it, last night after the awards?
It certainly was.
Plenty of dancing and networking, if that's the word.
Yeah, I've got a theory that I think it was maybe more lively than it's been in recent years, partly because this year I think more agencies won. So there weren't as many agencies sort of dominating the winners list. So there were more people wanting to celebrate, and I think that was kind of reflected in the vibe and the amount of dancing and celebrating and so on. So yeah,
some of the big winners celebrated in the Rink bar, didn't they? Certain agencies buying champagne and clutching onto their well-deserved gongs.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if you have this tactic, but at that point in the evening, I try to position myself near the agencies that have won the most when I'm going up to the bar.
Why would that be, John?
Well, I just think maybe they might want to celebrate with the PR Week editorial team and
share the love.
Rice a drink, share the love, exactly.
Yeah, so, you're more likely to get champagne if you hang around those people than any other type of drink.
I'll take that.
And I will say they're always very generous.
They are. It's a very generous industry.
But a certain executive who remained nameless, who was from Fleischmann, did start the tequila shots business at about 1 a.m., I think. And I got away with one, but I think there were more in the offing. So
I feel I might know who this person was. There was another agency boss that was definitely moving and grooving on the dance floor. I will say cravat. I don't think I need to say anymore. But they were busting out some shapes. So I was very impressed, as was Evie.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun being had.
Absolutely.
I thought it went really well. I thought Rylan was excellent as our presenter.
Yeah, Rylan was real star, I thought. Very, very warm, very professional, kept it going at a good pace, held the crowd.
Yeah. And he gave everyone that came up on stage a kiss. That's a lot of categories.
I got two, Siobhan.
I know you did. I know you got a massive hug. I was very impressed. You flew at him.
Took a shine to you, John.
Yeah, I think so. Kindred spirits.
Exactly.
No, lots of selfies were taken, weren't they? He was very good at taking selfies with people.
He was, yeah. Very welcoming, very warm, as you say. Yeah.
I do think that it's getting a bit noisier, though. I don't know if you'll think this. Danny, you do your sort of usual speech. It did feel like it's harder to get people to kind of. It's not like it's not a library, but expect people to be slightly.
It's incredibly. When you're up on stage, it's incredibly loud. Even when you get introduced with the announcer and you expect people to sort of hush a bit, there's still a fair bit of background noise. And yeah, I struggled a bit, and I don't know how Rylan does it, because by the time he's handing out awards, the noise is at crescendo. Just one of those things. It's a big night, isn't it? It's a big room, lots of excited people.
So, Danny, as the longest-serving member of the editorial team, you've obviously seen the UK Awards change over the years. As have I. It's actually my 10th. But what have you kind of seen as the biggest changes, would you say?
Well, you say it's your 10th. It's probably about my 20th, frighteningly enough. I think the Essential Awards doesn't change that much. I mean, it's always been a great night for decades, and many of the same agencies and the same professionals, thankfully, are in that room. The biggest single change, I would say, is the presence of the client-side teams. We now have at least a dozen tables taken by brands: Vodafone, Virgin Atlantic, Sage, EasyJet, and so on. And some of them are up for awards, some of them aren't particularly. But I just think it's become that the huge amount of talent and the size of the teams now in-house in PR encourages those people to be present in their teams in the room. And it's really nice because it just feels more balanced somehow. We've always had the big agency groupings and rivalries, but now you've also got client teams as part of the mix. And obviously, the two sides interact really well. And a lot of people who are in the in-house teams have started their careers in agencies, and vice versa. So the great thing about the British PR industry, I think, is that it is an industry. Everybody knows each other. I think you said earlier that it felt a bit like a school reunion. It does a bit. People grow up together in the industry, and whether they're clients or whether they're agencies, they still like to connect and still work together.
Yeah, I think that's right, and it's interesting with the brand teams being there out in force. For me, that also reflects the fact that the industry is doing so much more. There are so many more kind of offers and services that people who work under this umbrella we call PR or comms do, that actually there's a lot more interest. And these teams are growing and agencies are providing a lot more. So it feels like the industry is expanding in every sense.
Yeah, and as you said, John, there were lots of different winners this year, weren't there? Lots of different agencies were winning. Some years we've had one or two agencies really dominating, but this year felt like there was a lot of good agencies doing a lot of good work, and it definitely felt the better for that, I thought.
And also outside London as well, I thought as well. We had a lot more winners from outside London this time, not just in outside of London category, but I thought there was a broader spread. Like even like John Doe got quite a lot highly commended. So yeah, I think it was really great to see that depth going on.
Yeah, it was nice to see a Birmingham agency win Best Agency Outside London. I don't think we've had that for a few years. There's lots of Manchester agencies there, Scottish agencies, Wales. Yeah, it did feel very representative of the whole UK.
And the same in the campaign work as well. That also showed that there's demand there as well. That it's not just all these campaigns happening in central London.
Absolutely. We should give a special shout out to Golin though, with 6 awards. They won twice as many as the next agency. 2 agencies won 3. It's Blurred and Hope and Glory, wasn't it? So yeah, congratulations to them. I don't think anyone's that surprised, or I'm not, about Misheard Version for Specsavers winning again. Do you have any particular thoughts on that? Is that just to be expected, really?
It's interesting because I remember when the three of us did a roundup towards the end of last year. I think, John, you picked Specsavers towards the end of last year as one of your favourite campaigns of 2023, and I think it does feel like it was the sort of campaign of the year over the past year. And the nice thing about it, of course, is it's a PR campaign. So often these famous campaigns are a mixture of advertising and PR and digital and so on. But this feels very much like an earned media idea. Indeed, if you listen to the podcast we did a couple of weeks ago with some of the Golin guys, it's very much part of the Golin strategy to come up with really good earned first ideas that you can then integrate later on. So, no, it was a brilliant campaign. And of course, it won big at Cannes earlier this summer. So perhaps it's no surprise that it won big at our own awards. I mean, it was just part of the Golin story, to be fair. One of the reasons they won Large Agency of the Year, but they had a very good year financially. Their culture really comes across now, I think. They've worked hard on diversity. And yeah, it was a good story by Golin. So congratulations to them.
Definitely. I wrote a piece for this week looking at how so many of the winning campaigns this year have been using tech to great effect. I kind of made the point that this is the first PRWeek UK Awards in the AI era, in inverted commas, if you like. I think sort of the last awards were probably too early for AI to be really reflected in the entries. But what I thought is quite a few of the awards this year seem to be targeting the downside of AI and sort of new tech. You look at ones like the rise of the algorithm by Tin Man for Vodafone that warned against AI algorithms pushing content promoting misogyny and violence to young boys. Then we had things like Beware the Artificial Imposter by Weber Shandwick for this computer security firm McAfee, which targeted how AI is being used for voice cloning tools by criminals. I think there were probably fewer specific kind of overtly AI enabled, if you like, campaigns on show that perhaps we would have thought maybe earlier this year when the movie music was AI will be taking over everything. What do you think? Were you sort of surprised there weren't more sort of overtly AI campaigns there, or do you think it's too early, or maybe the tech is being used in a more subtle way, perhaps?
I would imagine it's being used more in a more subtle way. I was speaking to one of my guests last night, and we were sort of saying that it's being used, but it's not. I think this perception that it's being used everywhere in creativity is not the case. And, PRs aren't using it every day. Like it's an addition, it's not the main thing. And I think that's why we're not seeing it. But I really respected the Tin Man campaign. I thought that was, and with Vodafone, I thought it was a really interesting way of taking that on, and also something was very much in the news agenda as well at the moment. Quite a brave move, I think, from Vodafone as a phone company. But yeah, it's a great campaign, hence the reason it won.
I mean, I just don't know how often AI is being used in these campaigns. I mean, you guys maybe know a bit more, but I mean, some campaigns are clearly focused on AI, but we don't know how much AI is being used in the creation of some of these ideas and some of this content, I guess.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? And I guess would the entrants necessarily want to disclose it anyway? Possibly not. I mean, you don't necessarily have to give, every bit of detail about how an idea came into being, do you? You're talking about the success of a campaign. So, yeah, it's an interesting question.
And people have said to me, or when I've been speaking, one was saying that they're putting it in, but it's needing a lot of editing after what it's giving them. So actually, would they maybe feel that that is the tech creating it, or are you just getting these ideas from that and then it's leading on? It's where the inspiration ends, which is classed as AI, and what is actually you. And I think that's really hard to define.
I think that's true. I also think it was good to see some sort of more, if you like, kind of classic PR stunts in inverted commas, I guess, reflected last night as well as the kind of this more sort of tech and AI focused ones that I mentioned. I mean, I picked a few out again from this article I wrote. I think that the meal by Ready 10, the one from McDonald's where the smile was removed from Happy Meals to encourage sort of conversations around emotions, that one too, didn't it? And then there's things like Source of Conversation by W for Camden Town Brewery, which was a sort of collaboration to create a sort of Camden Town version of HP Source. So two very different campaigns, but I think ones that are kind of quite classic in a way for not necessarily groundbreaking ideas, but solid ideas that had effective results. And this industry is still very good at producing them.
Yeah, some really nice classic consumer PR campaigns from W and Ready 10, who I thought both entered lots of good campaigns in this year. The Happy Meal one particularly seemed to cut through, didn't it? It was quite a big campaign over the past year. It seemed to sort of break through into the public consciousness, maybe more than some campaigns do, with some pretty good results, I understand. So we mustn't forget that. Great campaigns have a great idea, but hopefully they also have real impact and real outcomes as well. So we do try to measure that in the PRWeek Awards.
Anecdotally, we've been told that a lot of budgets have been cut, so the results are now more important than ever. And so, as you say, these stunts and campaigns are going to be essential.
It feels like we've moved on from that idea of the kind of tearjerkers win everything approach. I mean, we definitely saw this in Cannes a few years ago, didn't we? Where it was almost like, what's the most moving, what's the most sort of life changing campaigns? And now it's more, okay, you can have that, or you don't have to have that. You could focus on comedy, you could focus on just a sort of collaboration, but it's just got to have results. And this is why I think the misheard version is so good because, okay, it's kind of a purpose campaign, but it's not ramming it down your throat. Ultimately, it's about business results. It's about Specsavers selling more and promoting their hearing service.
Yeah, I don't think it is a purpose campaign, is it? I mean, obviously, hearing loss is an important thing, but that's their service. That's what they're offering as a healthcare provider, I guess. So yeah, I don't think it is a purpose campaign. I don't think there were many classic purpose campaigns last night. I guess you could say the Happy Meal one possibly is
Yeah,
a
I
bit
was going to
more.
say that was one of them that felt like it probably was. If you'd see sort of purpose as something that's not directly related to the product they're selling, because I agree with you that the Specsavers one was ultimately about business results. You could argue there is a sort of purpose element to it, depending on how you define that. But the Happy Meal one was more of a purpose campaign we would have seen a lot more of a few years ago. But it obviously had results. And if it didn't have results, it wouldn't have won.
No, I think purpose has shifted, hasn't it, to brands are trying to stay in their lane a bit more and not go into areas, social purpose areas where perhaps naturally they don't really play. So you see lots of campaigns that have got a purpose, and it's a natural extension of that what that company does, which I think is much more healthy in a way. The sort of make them cry, make them buy sort of thing is receding a bit, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's slightly switched more. The purpose has become more about campaigning. So that you had with Frank PRs with Riverford Organic, where they get fair about farming, and that had ended up getting into Parliament, and it's sort of that extra level. But as you say, it's really got to fit with the brand, hasn't it, Danny? As you're pointing out, it's got to be the ethos of what they stand for.
Yeah, it's we've definitely seen a shift, and I think you're right, John, that humour has come back to a certain extent in the campaigns. Maybe it's because it's been tough economically, and humour tends to work in those times. Don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I'm going to make a prediction. I reckon we'll see more next year.
More humour.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think so. I think people are maybe, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I think there was a retreat from humour, partly because purpose was taken over, but also this sense that people are very, very afraid of offending and of getting on the wrong side of things. And I think there was this sense that humour equals dangerous because you could just offend people, you could just get on the wrong side of people. But actually, you know, that does still happen. Let's face it. I mean, there are probably two examples from Heinz where they got things wrong with the sort of racist stereotype allegations in recent weeks. But I think they're more the exception than the rule. I think people are generally a little bit more relaxed with it, maybe than they were, I would say.
Well, maybe because the Heinz campaign wasn't a humorous campaign, was it? And yet it still managed to offend people. So, as did the Burger King one, right? Recently, the first meal after giving birth campaign, and again, not a humorous campaign at all. So maybe you're less likely to offend people with humour than you are if you're trying to be a bit more purposeful and get it wrong.
Yeah, it struck me that the Heinz ones, that image of the bride, it was obviously meant to be humorous with the fact that she got pasta sauce on her, on the wedding dress and so on. I think the problem with that wasn't that they were using humour. The problem was that they didn't realise the implications of the image, and that
Also,
could have
not
been.
funny, is it?
It's not, but it was obviously it was meant to be light-hearted, let's say. But I think, yeah, I think that the problem wasn't the fact they were attempting something light-hearted. It certainly wasn't a purpose campaign. Attempting something light-hearted, but that's not in itself the problem. The problem was nobody looked at the optics, if you like.
They were going for diversity, weren't they? That's the point. They were going for diversity, but got it horribly, horribly wrong. In a way, you're better off sticking to trying to be funny rather than trying to be purposeful and diverse, but misjudging it badly.
I thought it'd be a good idea to have a look at some of the main agency winners, actually. I feel like we've spoken about Golan, the large agency winner, already. Congratulations again to them.
On large agency, sorry to interrupt, congratulations to MSL as well for getting highly commended in large agency. Particularly good effort, I thought, from MSL this year.
Yes, absolutely. Congratulations to them. So looking at the mid-size, highly commended there was Hawthorne Advisors. Congratulations to them. They've had a really good year, exceeded 10 million in revenue, I think for the first time, which is really impressive. But the winner there was Hope and Glory. And I don't know about you all, but whenever we talk about agencies that are doing interesting things, sort of respected consumer specialists, Hope and Glory is always among the sort of 4 or 5 agencies that comes up, and that's been the case for many years. And just looking at their achievements in the past year, I think you can see why. It's consistently there producing campaigns that get people talking, that win awards. They won elsewhere. They won 3 yet last night at the awards. And I think its culture is known to be very strong. I mean, Joe Carr, who's the co-founder, is obviously the president of Women in PR and very, very involved in debates around progressive cultures and supporting employees. And it was, it's been a winner in our Best Places to Work awards, many times. So I think it definitely deserves kudos for that as well.
Yes, I attended the mid-sized judging visits this year. I'm not a judge, I should point out, but I went along with the judges to see these agencies, and I agree that Hawthorne Advisors were very, very good and did extremely well to get a highly commended in mid-sized. They're a different sort of agency from most of our agency winners, I think, in that they're much more corporate and public affairs. So really nice to see them getting a highly commended. But you're right, Hope and Glory have this nice balance between the culture and the work, I think. And of course, you've got Joe Carr, who you've talked about, is very good at creating the right culture there. And you've got James, the co-founder, who's extremely good, creative, and producer of work. So I just think their story was so strong. Another great year for Hope and Glory.
Yeah, well done to them. And looking at the small agency category, Siobhan, did you want to say a few things about that?
Yeah, so the winner on the night was Fight or Flight, and it's one actually that PR Week has really been watching. It was launched during the height of COVID, and as we all know, those agencies have really fought. I think it's really impressive, the work that they've done. And they impressed the judges. They've had like year-on-year revenue growth of like 34% in the past 12 months alone. And its growth in the past year has meant that it was the youngest firm in the latest PR Week Top 150s consultancies, and that was recognised by the judges. So I think it's a massive well done to the London firm. They've done brilliant work over the past 12 months. And it's really impressive, I think, as well, the sort of creativity that's coming from B2B agencies, which I think is tough. And it's been a real challenge as well that they do a lot of tech, and that hasn't been an easy sector in the last 2 years. So well done to them.
Yeah, I went along again to the that category judging, and I totally agree. It's partly it's a B2B agency, but they are super energetic and super creative. Their work brings new levels of creativity to what some people would see as fairly difficult companies to communicate. And when the judges visited Fight or Flight, they were blown away by the culture and the energy of that agency. It was a very strong winner. And the highly commended was Ready 10, I
Yeah,
think.
Ready 10.
Yeah, again, different sort of agency. I believe they won it. Small agency last year, Ready 10.
They did, yes. And it really feels like they're sort of expanding what they do and continuing to grow. And obviously, we spoke about the Happy Meal McDonald's campaign that won twice as well. So, yeah, I kind of want to highlight the new agency, the new consultancy winner, and also highly commended. It just so happens that two people from both of these agencies were guests on this podcast just a few weeks ago when we were looking at what it's like launching an agency these days. So, highly commended was Klaxon. Congratulations to them. They've had a really strong time, sort of focus on experienced brands that's really sort of worked well for them, beating their targets and having some really interesting clients. So well done. And then the winner, Bottled Imagination. The judges were talking about their really beautiful, clever work and really smart ideas and innovation. Example here, they came up with the idea of creating temporary festive car insurance. So you've had too much to drink at a festival, your friend can drive home, will be sorted in 15 minutes. Just sort of really good creative ideas. And the people who founded the agency came from Rise at 7, which obviously over the last sort of 5 or 6 years has been one of the fastest growing agencies in the country. So, maybe some of that that Midas touch has rubbed off. Am I using my metaphors correctly? I'm not sure. You know what I mean? So well done to them.
I would like to add that, of course, there's also the in-house team categories that were very high quality in this year's awards. And the winner of in-house private sector was Bupa, who Sangeeta and her team, I think, have built a fantastic operation there. So huge congratulations to them. The highly commended went to Emma, the sleep company. And what was so interesting was that the 5 or 6 in-house teams that were shortlisted were completely different from last year. I think that's really encouraging that we're getting so many strong entries now from in-house departments, and it's nice to have a new set of winners this year.
And it's really impressive as well with Emma that they'd only been established in August 2022 and grown from 3 to 8 members as their in-house team, which is really phenomenal.
We should say as well, big congratulations to the in-house team in public third sector. Interestingly, there were 2 highly commended there. We had Pregnant Then Screwed, the sort of campaign group for equal rights for mothers that's, you know, has made a lot of noise and had a big impact in the past couple of years. And the England and Wales Cricket Board, which is kind of working towards promoting cricket in this country, but also responding to a lot of negativity around the game from a few years ago. So congratulations to those. And the winner was the Information Commissioner's Office. So congratulations to Angela, leads the comms team there. It's been a really good period for them, where they've taken an organisation that you could argue might seem a bit dry to some people and a bit specific, and kind of brought it to life through some creativity that I think is really worth checking out. And well done to the ICO. So all in all, brilliant night. Do you agree?
Yeah, fantastic night. I think everybody had a really good time, and thanks to everyone who entered the awards and everybody who came, and thanks to our team as well who organised such a brilliant event. I think it was a real success.
Yeah, I agree. It was just really nice to see so many people cheering so loudly when they won. It was, yeah. I mean, I think Holland and Barrett nearly took the roof off at one point when theirs was announced at the Academy. But no, it was great seeing, as you say, Danny. Like, kudos to the events team; they did a brilliant job.
It was nice seeing the Specsavers team sing "Never Going to Give You Up" on stage and dance with Rylan as well. That was definitely a highlight.
And it was the misheard version, which I enjoyed.
Cool. Well, that's all the time we have. Obviously, it'd be great if we could talk forever, really, about all of the other brilliant winners, but we don't have time, unfortunately. Do check them out on PRWeek.com for some really good inspiration. So thank you again to everyone at the awards who's involved in organising it. I'll let you both go now, Danny and Siobhan, to recover. And on the topic of awards, and if you're getting FOMO from listening to this, it's now time to enter the PR Week People and Places Awards, and also the Brand Film Awards, both for 2025. Look out at the PR Week website for details. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, we'd love it if you could leave a review, please, wherever you access PR Week's Beyond the Noise podcast. We're all going for a rest now. Thank you for listening. Until next time, goodbye.